are now in. So hello! Hello and welcome everyone. Well, I won't tell you yet. But we are here to talk about Dracula. In particular, adaptations of Dracula and what we liked best. Now this is an adaptations of Dracula, not every movie in the world that happened to have the name Dracula associated with. So no House of Dracula. No Dracula 3000. I'm sure there's a lot of big fans of that one. So this is Dracula, and it's not Nosferatu, for several reasons, but the biggest one is that we have a panel tomorrow, the same time where we talk about the six versions of Nosferatu, and if you can't name more than 3, come to that panel. But this one is going to be about adaptations of Dracula, and I have found the ones that probably count. There's always another one. I mean, hell, I saw on YouTube somebody with their phone made their own Dracula, which was, I'm Jonathan, I'm going to the castle, and he gets in a car. And there's somebody else driving, okay, taking you to Dracula's castle. So there's lots of Draculas, but we're not doing those. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at adaptations, and to do that we want to introduce ourselves, but there is a status level here. I mean, we are mere mortals, so we need to start with introductions by the truly important people. Oh, which is the problem. You don't need to hand it to me. I'm waiting. So, if you'd like, I would like to first some introductions from those who count.
I am Dracula.
Oh, it's really good to see you. I don't know what happened to the driver and my luggage and with all this, I thought I was in the wrong place.
I bid you welcome. Soy Dracula.
No podía usted ser más oportuno. No sé lo que pasaría con el cochero, con mi equipaje, con todas esas cosas. Creí que me había equivocado de casa.
Los muros de mi castillo están cuarteados. Abundan en él las sombras. Pero suba. Está usted en su casa. Óigale, bueno.
Mr. Harker, I'm glad that you arrived safely.
Count Dracula.
I am Dracula, and I welcome you to my house. Welcome to my house.
Count Dracula.
I am Dracula. Enter freely, and at your own will.
Welcome to my house. Enter freely and of your own will. I am Dracula. I bid you welcome, Mr. Harker.
Thank you.
Welcome to my house, Mr. Harker. Come freely, go safely.
Count Dracula?
I am Count Dracula. Will you come in?
Count Dracula.
Good evening.
Welcome to my home. Enter freely of your own will and leave some of the happiness you bring.
Count Dracula. I
am Dracula. And I bid you welcome, Mr. Hunt, to my house. Come.
I am Dracula.
Pleased to meet you, sir.
You must be hungry.
Yes, very tired.
And you must eat. We have much to do.
Welcome, Mr. Harker.
Count Dracula.
Yes, I am Dracula.
right, with that, I think our next most important person is over here. So if you could introduce yourself.
I'm Chris Gore from Film Threat. Is it just us two, Matt? Like this?
Apparently.
All right, here we go.
All right, with that brief introduction, I am Matthew Foster. I am the Director Emeritus of the DragonCon Film Festival. I've been a judge and panelist at film festivals across the country, MC at Troma Dance. I have a book called The Birth of Monsters, an introduction to 30s horror cinema, which, you know, buy that and I'll have money. And I've started a YouTube channel under Foster on Film for classic film and genre film, and I would love if people would take a look at it because I have no idea how to get YouTube to show my videos to anyone. So, that's us, and here are the main films. If over the course of the time we come up with another that counts as an adaptation, we can talk about it, but these are pretty much the biggies I could find. Now, we're here to talk about what we think did it best, the best version, where best is however we define it, for different categories. But I was talking to Chris beforehand, and I was thinking a good way to start this out, because I'm not sure everybody knows all these films, is for me to talk for a moment about which ones of these are actually the most faithful to the book. To give sort of an idea, I think if we run through them that way, everyone will kind of be up on what these different films are. So I asked earlier how many people had read the book. My next question would then be, how many people have, well, I'll start with, how many people know the play? How many people have seen the play?
The recording.
Wow.
Recording.
I've not watched the recording.
I saw a ballet version once.
I did.
The Dracula ballet.
That's what's funny. I have not seen the play. I know it, but I haven't seen it. But I have seen a ballet. The play, I'm talking the Balduston one, and that will be pertinent to that. So let's talk about these films then and see which one is the most accurate. So if we go through, we can talk about Lugosi and Spanish together, since they had the exact same script, were filmed on the same sets, so they're both equally faithful. How faithful? Almost everyone always poo-poos them on being faithful because they're based on the play and not on the book. So that means, yes, Dracula is much more suave and sophisticated than he is in the book. I mean, he goes for visits. Book Dracula would not be coming to visit. Also, the locations have been cut way down, and we get rid of Arthur and Quincy, and Seward has become Mina's father, plus some of the lesser characters are missing. So that would say, yeah, from the play, they didn't look at the book at all, but that's actually not quite true, because the play doesn't have any of the beginning at Dracula's castle. And the play, Lucy's dead before this play starts. Mina is already bitten, and Lucy's dead. And in this, they went back and went, no, we're having the beginning, going to Dracula's castle. We're putting the Dracula's brides back in. Now, they did switch it and have Renfield go instead of Jonathan to the castle, but he does the same stuff. And they had, I said, what is it they say? They had the brides back in, and they had Lucy alive. And they also are the only one to give Renfield actually his speech. I mean, Renfield's main part in the book, his big deal of all of these is only in those ones. So if you want to hear Renfield say why being a vampire is cool, you have to go to there. Now, next one is often called Turkish Dracula, Dracula in Istanbul, and that one is way more faithful, which is really weird because technically it's not an adaptation at all. You see, Dracula wasn't translated into Turkish, so an author just translated it himself, updated it to modern Turkey, put his own name on it, and published his own novel. And it sold, and they made a movie out of it. And it wasn't for like 20 years before somebody worked out that, oh, no, he just stole it. So this one, Dracula, is much more like Dracula. He behaves much closer than he does in the book. We get Arthur back again. So we have the whole Arthur-Lucy relationship stuff. That's all in. They put in Lucy's mother. That's hard to find. They put in Jonathan's boss, which, by the way, if you don't know the book, Jonathan's boss matters because he's the one who gets Mina to go to Jonathan, and he also dies half the way and gives Jonathan all of his money, making Jonathan yet another one of the 1% all rich people by the end of the book. But they're all in this one. So this one seems like it doesn't have Quincy, but you know, you can cut out Quincy and not notice. So it seems like it's a lot more like the book, and it is in most ways. However, it doesn't have Renfield. Oh, and Nina is an exotic dancer. Which I absolutely love because it just gets rid of my prejudices altogether, because I'm thinking Turkish film. This is going to be really conservative. No, we get 3 dance numbers with Mina in quite cute outfits dancing. So you get more flesh in this movie than you did in any until the Coppola movie. So closer but not there. We get Hammer. Well, I'm going to back up because I was bad here. How many people have seen the Lugosi movie? Excellent. How many people have seen Spanish? Yeah, if you haven't seen Spanish, see Spanish. How many people have seen Turkish? Excellent. It's hard to find a good copy. But if you don't mind, also watch the translations are different. So I've watched multiple versions and you get different stories from them. Oh, I should, backing up and showing how badly prepared I apparently am, I should mention this is where it starts that Dracula is actually Vlad the Impaler.
Oh, okay.
It's not in the book. It is here. So think about that for a minute. The Turkish one said that Dracula is Vlad the Impaler. Everyone know who Vlad the Impaler was fighting? Who he impaled? It's the Turks. So, okay, Hammer. How many people have seen Hammer? Okay, Hammer. Let's see. Hammer takes place in a kind of Ruritania. So combination, it's kind of Transylvania, it's kind of Germany, and everyone's very British. And Dracula lives in a hilltop hideaway with an external open crypt, which is just a quick buggy ride away from the city. By the way, none of that's in the book. A vampire hunter, that's not in the book, there are none, goes to answer Dracula's request for a librarian, not in the book. For some reason he's named Jonathan Harker, I do not know why. This individual kills a bride of Dracula, not in the book. Dracula then turns him into a vampire, not in the book. Dracula then goes to look for a replacement bride, not in the book. Another vampire hunter named Van Helsing, not in the book, goes to tell this Jonathan's fiancée, Lucy, not in the book, that he's dead, but is stopped by Lucy's brother Arthur, not in the book, who is a middle-aged, upper middle-class man, not in the book, and married to Mina, not in the book. Now, Dracula does attack Lucy and Mina. That's in the book, but I refuse to give it any points for vampire attacks to women. Van Helsing then tells us directly, while talking into a recorder or talking to Arthur, that everything from the book about vampire lore is wrong. So he contradicts everything we've the book says about vampire lore. He then works out that Dracula is in Mina's basement, not in the book. He then chases after Dracula. I cannot tell you how much not like that is. And then has a physical altercation with Dracula. We need a new word for that. You know how long Van Helsing would last in a physical altercation with Dracula? Quite frankly, I'm kind of confused on how long Peter Cushing would end up in a physical altercation with Christopher Lee. I assume Lee would just fling him across the room. But he then kills Dracula by crossing candlesticks.
Oh.
Not in the book. And using sunlight. Not in the book. Those who haven't read the book, you do know Dracula cannot be killed by sunlight. Sunlight does not bother Dracula. Daylight means he can't change forms, but that's it. Matt,
so it's
can I make you
accurate.
do it so I can see
Would you say it's accurate to Twilight then? and just so people know, the Twilight saga is being re-released to theaters. Coming.
20 years.
There might be a fan here.
I was in a Dracula room. Is there any fans of Twilight?
You can be a fan of Twilight. Anyways, I'm just saying.
I will say with this one, if I'm comparing that, I find this to be kind of a Godzilla situation, like the Matthew Broderick one, where most people go, you know, that movie wouldn't be bad if they didn't call it Godzilla. Right. I kind of look at this one and go, did you need to call it Dracula? I mean, it's all kind of cool, but I've left off a whole lot of ways it's not like the book.
Matt, I'm like probably everyone in this audience. I've seen about half of those. So, not in the book, that is, I mean, it's interesting how lore for a character is added on. The Istanbul version, I didn't know that about Vlad the Impaler. That's really fascinating. What's in the book, then? If so many iconic things people know about the character are from the movies that aren't in the book, what's in the book? I'm curious, maybe other people are as well.
Okay. I'm going to get a vote, just for timing. Who wants me to synopsize the book? Okay, that's enough.
Educate us.
Okay.
All right. The book.
Brief.
The book is a series of letters and telegrams and diaries from the main characters, which does not include Dracula or Renfield, and barely includes Van Helsing as far as the letters. It's pretty much we're getting Mina, we're getting Jonathan Harker, and we're getting Seward. And what is Harker is going to the Carpathian Mountains to sell Dracula some property. He's a new lawyer. He hangs around with rich people. He is not himself rich, but he hangs around with rich people. He's engaged to Mina. Goes to Dracula's castle, meets the three brides who want to bite him. They do not. Just countering most of these. Nobody bites Jonathan in the castle, ever. But Dracula does keep him there. He ends up locked up there. And Dracula then takes the Demeter back to London to his new properties. Along the way, he kills everyone in the ship. The ship crash lands, and he is turned into a wolf at that point and jumps off, according to newspapers, as a giant dog. Again, rules of vampirism in this. Again, sunlight doesn't hurt him, but daylight forces him to stay in one form. So if he's a dog, when the day starts, then he has to stay a dog all day. If he's a man at the start, then he has to stay that way. He can change into a bat or mist, but he'd be mist all day if he timed it wrong. Jonathan eventually gets out of the castle by falling out a window. We don't really get that because he doesn't write it. He just says at that point he's kind of going crazy, and he's going to go out. And the next time he pops up, we hear when a letter goes to his boss telling him that he has a brain fever and he's in a hospital, and would Mina come visit and take care of him. which Jonathan's boss does give her the ticket, and so that she can go. Jonathan's boss, that again stays as a main character. When they eventually come back married from the hospital, they move in with his boss, and they hang out there for a while. So if you're looking for that part, don't they come right after Dracula and start doing? No. They he's a lawyer. He goes to live with his boss for a bit, and then the boss dies, and he gets all the boss's money. Back in the other side, important for comparing all these, Dracula takes place all over the place. They are running around all the time. It's not like the whole movies take place, or the whole book takes place from one house and then Dracula lives next door. That's from the play, which is why in the Lugosi and the Spanish, they live next door. Dracula has a Carfax Abbey, but he's got bunches of other places. They have to go all over the London area that they have to travel to. And when the dog jumps off point, that's when Lucy is off at the seaside. She happens to like the seaside. She's vacationing with her mother and has invited her friend Mina along. And a lot of the book then takes place of them talking to people on the shore. You get some information about what the locals were like, and how the one guy says lots of strange stuff, and who died when, and there's a lot of, it's a 450-page novel. But at some point there, Lucy starts sleepwalking again and gets herself bitten. She's still fine though. She lasts. She goes back to their other home. Mina takes off to go find Jonathan. Lucy has had 3 people trying to marry her. Dr. Seward, who runs the asylum, he's a rich dude. Arthur, who's a really rich dude, who's also up the ladder of status, and during the book, his father dies so that he becomes a lord, so that for large portions of the rest of the book, as our heroes are trying to do things, it really amounts to them bribing everyone. The book has so much bribery in it, you can't imagine. It's pretty much, okay, we need to find out where Dracula's put his boxes of dirt. All right, you go over here and bribe this person, and then I'm going to bribe these workers, and then I'm going to bribe these people, unless you're Arthur. And Arthur just has a status that he doesn't bother to bribe people. He just goes in and says, I am Lord Homewood. Give me information. They're definitely, they're rich. They're well off. The book spends a lot of time making fun of poor people. Pretty much anyone who's poor is comic relief in the book. So anyway, and then Quincy is the other one going for Lucy's hand. Quincy is an American. He's a Texan. Think of the most comic portrayal you've ever heard of a Texan, and you know what Quincy is. It's all, well, hi there, little darling. He's like that all the time. He walks around with a large knife on him, always. Whether that's supposed to have any other meaning is up to you. And when they want to do some hunting, he immediately, well, I've got 6,000 guns available. Because he goes everywhere with guns. And they all know each other because they've gone hunting with Quincy before. All 3 of the men asked Lucy to marry him in one day. Lucy goes with the really, really rich guy instead of the semi-rich guys. But they all are still really, really friendly and stay together as good friends all the time. Yes, he saw the quotes. Okay, how far are we in? This was requested. Okay, Lucy gets bitten. She gets transfusions given. Dr. Sword doesn't know what to do with her, so calls on his good friend Van Helsing, who taught him, and Van Helsing is alive because Sword saved him from blood poisoning, so he figures he owes him. Owns too. There are no vampire hunters here. Van Helsing is not a vampire hunter. He's just a very open-minded doctor And when he can't figure out any other reason why Lucy is dying, he just goes, "You might be vampires." But he doesn't tell them that. There is like 100 pages of the book where he's walking around going, "I think maybe, I don't want to be sure here, I'm going to look it up again." So he keeps leaving the country to go do research. And then he'll return. So again, lots of travel to find out that it's a vampire. But again, eventually Lucy dies. When she does that is when Dracula, to get to her, gets a wolf to burst in through the window, thus frightening Lucy's mother to death. And then he bites Lucy for her one final time. Lucy dies. That's the most normal thing that happens in every one of the movies is Lucy turns into a vampire. She goes after children. Van Helsing figures it out. He persuades everyone at this point that it is about vampires. So they go and they behead her. At that point, Jonathan and Mina finally come back and mix with everyone else. And as soon as they do, it's like, "Oh, so you went to see the castle with a vampire in it. Oh." So then they put it all together, figure out what it is, and then they spend the next 100 pages trying to find all of Dracula's 50 boxes of dirt, which he has hidden all over London. By the way, I did skip in all this. Renfield is around. Renfield is just a guy in an insane asylum. He has no connection to Dracula otherwise, but he just feels him. And so he thinks he's the master to him, and he wants to get lives through that. Renfield gives lots of kind of information about there's something coming and such, but in the end, all that happens with him directly is that Dracula uses him as a way to get into the asylum by having him invite him in, and then he kills him.
Is this one of those rare cases where the movie's better than the book? Just curious. I haven't read the book, but I've seen more than half of those movies. And I like a lot of different vampire kind of adaptations or expansion on the lore. The True Blood series, at least the early seasons. Is it a case of that?
It's a very good book.
Sorry to derail your panel, but
yeah, I mean, in my mind, I like 3 of the movies better than the book, but I like the book better than a bunch of the other movies. Right. You can guess which ones as we go along. It's a good book. It's just not always what everyone thinks. People think they're going to sit down and read about a whole bunch of vampire attacks, and what you're reading is about a bunch of really upper-class British people finding out that their friends are dying and wanting to do anything about it.
It's like Citizen Kane, the movie. Everyone's, it's about Citizen Kane. No, it's about a reporter trying to find out about his life. That's really, what the structure is. But
just to end it.
So in your opinion, because it sounds, from what I know of like seeing half of these, Coppola's, despite the horrific acting by everyone except Gary Oldman,
True.
not to mention the accents. Yes, I mean horrible.
I'll defend that movie more than that, but go ahead.
Okay, I'd love to hear that. Okay, but what they showed you in the movie sounds like it's the closest one out of all of these to the book.
Well, I'll say no, but I have to go through them all. I'll say that it is one of the closest to the book, but it is also the one that has added and changed the most. So more events and certainly more characters than usual are in that one, but also some fundamental differences are in that one. It's certainly more than those, but yeah, if you've seen that one, you have a better idea of what's in the story. But okay, let's quickly finishing off my synopsis, which went for too long. Just say, Mina starts getting bitten, and then Dracula makes her feed off of him. They've destroyed all his dirt, so he's annoyed. They try to trap him in one of his residences, which he shows up to. But all that happens at that is they're all there in the room. Dracula sees them. Dracula jumps out the window. We had not seen Dracula at that point for like 200 pages, and he is 2 sentences, and then he's gone. But since Mina has drunk his blood, she will eventually become a vampire. that may be years. He doesn't care then because since they destroyed all his dirt but one, he's now just going to leave. So he just packs up and goes back to Transylvania. But they know that because Mina's been drank his blood, they have to stop Dracula. So, what's often and not most of the other movies, they all decide to go to Transylvania. And they know where he's going because Mina has a connection to him so that they can hypnotize her. So they all get together. Quincy supplies guns. Arthur supplies money. And I mean money. They even pause in the book to say, "Oh yeah, we're doing everything because Arthur has so much money." To the point when they try to find him at a harbor, they can't. They miss him because Dracula's being clever. So then they have to split up to try and get him before he gets to his castle. So Quincy just buys a boat because Arthur just buys a boat because Arthur has money. So they split up and two of them go out by boat and the others go by horseback, all with guns. And Van Helsing goes with Mina. They all are trying to get to the castle before Dracula gets there because I figure once he gets into his castle, they'll never be able to get him. Van Helsing and Mina run into Dracula's brides outside the castle. They get there first. The brides try to get at them but can't pass a ring of hosts that he puts on the ground, so they go back home, and then Van Helsing just walks in during the day and cuts off their heads. The other parts of the crew of life, or the crew of goodness, different names given to the rest of the vampire hunters as they are now, they've all gotten back together again. They race down the road, find Dracula being taken on a carriage by a bunch of gypsies. They simply stop the gypsies by pointing guns at them. So there is not a big, the entire climax of the book is this long. It is literally, we point guns at them, they all stop. Jonathan and Quincy jump onto the wagon. They open up the box. Dracula's just laying there. Quincy stabs him with a knife, regular old knife through the heart. Jonathan slits his throat with another regular old knife. Dracula dies. I mean, it's straight. He's just dead. And it is like that. But for somehow, in that, Quincy gets stabbed by one of the gypsies. We don't actually see it. It's just once they stopped the gypsies, they had to kind of like shove their way through, and we're getting it from Mina's point of view. And she's like, "Oh, I think they're having some trouble. Nope, they got up. Okay. Oh no, it looks like Quincy stabbed. Oh, Quincy's dead." And that's the end. And you get one page later saying that actually, now several years later, they're all happy. Lucy was fine, but they've all found themselves new girls. So they're all married, and Mina and Jonathan have a kid, which they named after all of them. So it has that long a name, but they call him Quincy. All right, that was a big diversion. Let me say quick to get back to where we are. Okay, so which ones are like these? Franco version. If you notice, Christopher Lee. A lot of people will say, "Oh, isn't he kind of acting like Dracula in the Hammer ones?" Not really. The Franco movie was made because Christopher Lee wanted to play Dracula, and Hammer wasn't giving him a chance. Excuse me?
Can you explain that date?
That would be a mistake. Well, here we read 3s as 7s if it's after a certain time of night. So yeah, sorry, 1970. So that movie's made because Franco went to him and said, "Hey, I will let you actually play Dracula." And that's what Christopher Lee wanted to do, was really play Dracula for a change, which is also why the mustache. Dracula has a mustache. Dracula is an old man at the beginning. He de-ages. So Christopher Lee went, "Great, I want to play Dracula." So if you watch the movie, he acts like Dracula. And all his sections of the movie are very true to the book. The rest of it has the barest connection to the book. He got Klaus Kinski to play Renfield, but he was one of those where Franco makes really low-budget movies, usually with naked breasts. There's not like money, so you can see for the part of Renfield, he basically paid him for a day. There's no lines, and you just roll around in an insane asylum for a day, film that up, cut it up, and put it throughout the movie. He got Lom. See, this is why I need my phone to give me the name. Herbert Lom to play Van Helsing, but again, no money. So Herbert Lom, who's you probably know from Inspector Clouseau movies, he comes in as Van Helsing and then has a stroke. That way he can sit the rest of the movie and doesn't have to move around, doesn't have to go on the big quest to fight Dracula. He just sits in this chair.
Yeah, because they only had it for a couple of days.
Yeah, it's like we got you for 2 days. So again, when you have a movie where Van Helsing has a stroke and sits the rest of the movie, you can tell it's not terribly accurate. Palance. The Palance version was more or less intended for TV, but did make a theatrical release. It was made by the same guy who did Dark Shadows. And since I'm trying to speed up a little bit at this point, I'll just say, big difference with this one from the others is he took, and he said he specifically did this, he took a plot point from Dark Shadows and put it into Dracula. Yeah, we got it. And that is that Dracula is actually going after he's not coming just to find life, but he's coming after his long lost love. That's not in the book. There's none of this affection, romance between Dracula and anyone. There is no romance in Dracula. Dracula is not a romantic guy. But in this one, Palance is going after his resurrected love. Thing is, it's not Mina, it's Lucy. So he travels back to find his love, which is Lucy, turns her into a vampire so that they can live happily forever. But then for some reason he just leaves her in her coffin for the night, and he'll come tomorrow to pick her up. And over the night, Van Helsing beheads her, so the rest of the movie is just Dracula being really pissed that they killed his girl. So he's just hunting them because that, and they end up killing him with a big spear and sunlight. No, not in the book. Okay, Jaurdan. Now for a start, people know Louis Jaurdan?
Sure. Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing, yes. Gigi. Gigi is more where I would go. Yeah, Louis, he was also in Octopussy. Louis Jaurdan is an ultimate suave kind of actor who played in every movie he was ever in, Louis Jaurdan. In this movie, he is playing Louis Jaurdan. So if you want your Dracula as a suave French guy, you got it. The weird thing is, outside of him, this is our faithful movie. Virtually everything else is from the book, including the traveling to the seasides. They run around, they do all of it. All the characters are there. The mother's there. I mean, how often do you find the mother in these? The only difference is Quincy and Arthur, they combine into one character. Which also is the other problem I put with this, because this is a British TV production of the 70s. Anybody watch old Britcoms from the 70s besides me? Remember how very good British people were at doing American accents in the 70s? So we've got a guy who the character does all of Arthur's stuff, but he acts like Quincy as a British person trying to pretend he's Texas. But outside of that, this is pretty much the book. So if you just go, And Dracula doesn't do suave things like in the others. He just acts like that. So if you didn't want to read the book and still wanted to know what it was like, this has it pretty straight. Langella, based on the play, closer to the play than the other ones. Very suave Dracula, and they decided to keep to that. Let's have romance. At least she's not resurrected in this case, but it's all romance because this Dracula is very sexy. If you didn't know, that's because he was in the play on Broadway, and everyone went nuts. Particularly women went nuts. He said that he was told repeatedly by men who would come to him and say, I got laid because of your play. We got there, my wife was so excited from the play. And he'd say women would come to him and say, let's see, what's our time of night? Okay, late enough. He would have women directly coming up to him and say, I got so wet from watching you in that performance. So they wanted to replicate his stage performance. So it's like the play, but they do cut off the beginning going to Transylvania, and very suave. Coppola's. Who's seen Coppola? Okay, we all know Coppola. Yeah, most of the book is in here, although cuts out the mother and the boss. Cutting out the mother seems cruel. I mean, I dumped Quincy for the mother. But then he added so much stuff, particularly all the romance. There's none of this Dracula going to see a movie with Mina. That's not in the book. Dracula does not, or Mina does not say, take me away from all this death. That's not in the book.
I have crossed oceans of time.
Yeah. Also, Dracula looks like a older man at the beginning of Dracula. Not. Okay, ITV. Where to start? Okay. Arthur has syphilis. He's going to marry Lucy, but he doesn't want to give her syphilis.
Well, decent.
So he contacts the local black arts group, cultists, and they say that they can bring a magician over from Europe who can cure him of syphilis if he gives them lots of money. And he says, okay. But they sent somebody to talk to the magician, and they got frightened, so they don't want to go and get him themselves. So they arrange for this Jonathan Harper guy to go over and get the magician.
What year does this take place?
That's a good question. I don't have a good answer for that. I'd say it's kind of close to the bookish time, so 1890s maybe. I wouldn't hold my breath on any of it, or anything else making sense. So they bring back Dracula, who comes looking. He looks like this. By the way, any fans of Doctor Who? Love and Monsters?
Oh.
Okay, remember the guy in Love and Monsters? Yeah. That's Dracula. Except he has a poutier haircut in this when he gets younger, so think very much a boy band Dracula. He then goes to kill some people. Van Helsing is actually a guy that the cultists keep in their cellar, who John, that's Seward, but in this movie they just call him John all the time. I don't know why. Rescues Van Helsing from the cultists' basement after Dracula decides to kill all the cultists, and then they get together and kill him. So, as you can see, very, very much like the book. And finally, Argento's. Who's seen it? Okay. Just like the book, we start with the naked girl, and obviously like the book, who's just a villager, and otherwise not connected to any characters we know, who goes out to have sex with some guy who we don't know who that is either. But it's filmed in close-up in 3D. And I am not kidding you, they do have her 3D at the screen. Then Dracula attacks her as an owl.
That's a new one.
In 3D.
Nothing like the book.
Okay, so yeah. Dracula later attacks him when it's a praying mantis. As we know from the book.
Straight off. Okay.
What's the scale of the mantis?
He's about so tall. Does not look anywhere near as good as Buffy. I'll be talking about a movie tomorrow for Nosferatu, where they made a movie where the whole idea was to let the green screen be obvious. This is a movie where the green screen was not supposed to be obvious. It is. So okay, we shortened that from synopsizing. But that's our Dracula movies. So, with that, where are we on time?
7:46.
Okay, getting right to the heart of the panel now with 15 minutes to go. I was going to go through a lot of things as far as who did it best, but let's get to the heart of the matter then, and let's just start with Dracula. To say, Chris, who do you like as Dracula?
Thanks. I feel like I should be asking questions, not really be on the panel, but because you know a lot. And wow, I didn't realize that Dracula book sucked so hard. But these adaptations really did a favor to the character because it added lore, in particular the Istanbul version. I mean, there's something to be said about the development of the lore of the character, along with the lore of extended lore of vampires and vampire franchises.
My own feelings, I would love them to all go way off track if we just could get one. That would be accurate. I just want one completely accurate. Just take Lee in the Franco one and stick him into the Jaurdan movie, and then we'll have our accurate one, and then they can go off. But I just want one.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe an accurate one wouldn't be great, but I've always liked the Coppola one. I mean, not that there's a lot of bad things about that movie, but Gary Oldman is amazing. He's amazing. The Hammer stuff is of its era. You know, I like it, but it's like of that time. So, and Lugosi is just classic. When he met Abbott and Costello, I thought that was great. Probably not from the book either. That was
no, that's in the book.
But I love Bela Lugosi as like Dracula. I mean, it's kind of iconic. I mean, there's an Aurora model kit of him. You know, right? I mean, like of all those classic.
I owned it.
Yeah. As kids, yeah, those things were great. But I don't know, like. Since I haven't seen them all, I'm more interested in what you have to say. But yeah, I'm just really impressed with the way you laid this presentation out. It really shows the evolution of Dracula and the total failure to adapt that book accurately. Maybe the success in not adapting the book, you know, and actually making a movie that would appeal. But,
there was one, whichever one Matt is pointing to.
Oh my God, people are here.
Okay, so another thing too is Bela Lugosi really did do more than just Dracula. He fought for the role super hard to the point where he had to completely retrain his dialect to the point where he was actually also having to stay after set to help coach the Spanish. So the way how he fought for the role, the way how he helped make cinema what it is now, the way how he broke down the wall to help lesser actors become as big as him, I would say, for history's sake, and he reanimated a lot of the artists.
Add in that he actually was the contact between Universal and Stoker's widow to get the rights to it.
Yep.
Yeah, in case people don't know, before Dracula, there is no horror. There are no horror movies in the United States. There simply are none. Anything that you might think of one, the studio would have said, no, we're not making horror. This is melodrama. We don't do horror. Dracula is the first horror movie. You.
So
That's good.
in the half first. Okay. So just what are we really looking for when we talk about adherence? Because packing in 400 pages into a feature-length time, you're never going to get there. So you can have details. You can have Quincy. You can have pillars of blue flame appearing in Transylvania, or you can have tone. You can have the style. You can have a Dracula that feels like the character out of the book. So, yeah, in that way, I also have to say Lugosi. That film may not have all the details right, but all you need is one look from those eyes, and you feel that character more than any other portrayal of him.
Now, I'm saying this, but we're now on who did it best, not who did it faithfully. We did our full faithful. Now we don't care if they're faithful. We care what's good. Faithful does not mean good, because I said this is the most faithful by leaps and bounds.
Yes.
And if someone came to me, should I watch this one or this one?
Are we looking at the movie or the portrayal of Dracula specifically now?
Well, we can do either, but at this point, since we had 15 minutes, we're trying to do more than one of these. We're just going to say Dracula himself.
Okay.
So who did Dracula?
Okay. I know why they're not up here, but I wanted to ask your opinion on two different Draculas, because I think that they're in not so great media, but they're really good Draculas, which is Clay's Bane from the BBC Dracula.
The TV show.
The TV show, yes. And Nick Cage in Younger
That might make
it.
Young folk.
Parts of Dracula that are like sillier, like when Dracula's like feigning that he's gonna let Jonathan out of the castle, or when he's like smiling at him as he walks down into town, like in his clothes, like I'm gonna go make a fool out of you, you know.
Well, one can never say that someone's opinion is wrong. But if you were asking mine, I found everything about Renfield to be horrendous, and that includes Nicolas Cage. I don't think he did a good Dracula. I don't think he did a good character. I don't think he was acting. I do think the cocaine was working, so that's nice. I would love to have his cocaine dealer, so that would be nice. As far as for the BBC one, yeah, that's interesting. He does an interesting job there. It's kind of warped and weird. I mean, you can't really call it an adaptation exactly once you get.
It's cursed with Stephen Moffat.
You just watched the 3
And I like Moffat, but it does mean that Moffat is going to Moffat on it. So after the first episode, which is only kind of like Dracula, but I think it's interesting if you want a sarcastic Dracula making lots of cute comments.
As almost no one has done Dracula verbatim to the book, almost to the point of the character, like all of the traits of Dracula and such. What do you think about Dracula makes him so hard to actually adapt faithfully?
As far as the character or the book?
The character.
Well, because part of that is from the book, in that Dracula is barely in the book. There is not much Dracula in it. Dracula is pretty much just a mystery in the book. You're not supposed to know a whole lot about him. You meet him, you just kind of get an idea of what one guy thought, and then he just zips in and does mean stuff. So he's a feeling. He's frightening.
So would you want a film that has a Dracula film that has 5 minutes of Dracula at the end?
Well, as I said, we've got those. That's somewhat of a different topic. I was talking about problems with adapting Dracula. There are several real big problems with adapting Dracula, and one of them is that if you go to see a movie called Dracula, you want a bunch of Dracula. Dracula's not much in Dracula. Instead, you're getting a whole lot of Jonathan Harker. And I don't know anyone who's really excited about getting all the Jonathan Harker they can. I would like one. Simply because we've got 11. If I count the Nosferatus in, we've got a bunch more. We deserve one that just follows it, because I think that would be interesting. But no, in general, I don't think adapting Dracula straight to movie makes a lot of sense. And why is it difficult? Because you're just working with a feeling. There just isn't a lot of character for him in the book. Okay, that's what I've seen forever.
Yeah, here and then up front.
Yeah, on the topic of adaptation, as we've been discussing, the thing that keeps me really enjoying the book is that epistolary format.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that is something so unique to that style of writing. And as much as you're talking about the kind of the main character, the marketability, keeping it from being adapted more like the book, I almost wonder, is that even worth it based on how different it is as a medium? And do you think, would it be possible to have some sort of adaptation that does something truly only a movie could do, much like how the book does only what it can?
Oh, well, always. You can do a lot with only the way there are some of these that do things that only a movie could do that the book could never do. You can't translate that over very well because I mean they've tried, but sitting down and watching a movie where multiple different people narrate for 2 hours just doesn't work very well. Now I do think that the Coppola version does a nice job of implying that. Their little bit of playing around with the diary writing as they're going, that at least gives you the idea. Okay, and can you make the pictures come back? Make pictures come back. I need them to. Go ahead.
I have my opinion of who's the best, but I know you said the Nosferatu is a whole different discussion.
Yes.
What about the Vlad the Impaler folks? Like, there's a whole bunch of them. Where does that fit into the book, or does it at all?
It does not.
So where do we get that?
We get that from here.
Oh.
This movie said that Vlad the Impaler and Dracula were the same person. Then this movie repeated it. Then this movie decided to put in a long prelude that is not in the book with red armor, and I love the red armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one on Earth has ever worn armor like that, nor would they. I love the whole battle scene. None of it makes any sense, but it looked beautiful. But then it came to that. All the Vlad the Impaler stuff, it started here.
Okay.
That is pointing to person over here.
I guess I'm going to frame it as a question, but do you agree that the Coppola version essentially took the Mummy, right? Like a lot of the plot of the Mummy seems to be like that reincarnation. I guess
I'm sorry. Here. This is
Palance
where
did it first.
Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned a little bit of the reincarnation.
In fact, when I wrote it down myself in my own review for it, I said it's the Mummy, but then I said no because Dan Curtis specifically said, I'm not taking from the Mummy, I'm taking from my own other work. I'm taking from Dark Shadows.
Fair enough.
All right. I know you said you're going to do a separate panel about all the Nosferatus, but where would you put the original Nosferatu in there as compared to, faithfulness and Dracula-ness?
Faithfulness, it would be fighting it out with Hammer for last place. Come tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, we'll do it because we need to get. We're talking about Dracula. We need some sort of ending with that. So if we're going to who I think did Dracula best. Yeah. Now, who do I think did Dracula worst? So I'm going to ask you a question from the way that I have subtly said things. I used to do this to my students at the end of a semester to see if I was giving away too much. I was happy to find out I usually wasn't, which is weird. But let's see. I will tell you that I absolutely love 3 of these movies. I absolutely love them. Some of my favorites of all time. Another one I really like. 2 of them I think are absolute garbage. I mean, just suck. And the rest of them are okay. So, a quick question to all of you. Can you guess which are the three that I think are great?
Is it Lugosi's, Franco's, and Istanbul?
No.
Is it Lugosi, Spanish, and Franco?
No.
Center, it's not Lugosi.
Spanish, Franco, Coppola.
No. Boy, one of them I really was off on that in my description. Not off on, but great. I'm not showing how I feel.
Lugosi, Langella, and Coppola.
Yes.
Very
Very good. Lugosi is kind of perfect. Spanish is good. That's my fourth that I like a lot, but don't take his masterpiece. Langella does something different. Coppola does something different. I love the fact that Coppola went, I am just going to expand this and go for beauty. Okay, which are the two that are junk?
Argento.
I was thinking
Argento.
Yeah. Now, I will say, since we're running out of time, if we're going through the whole thing and say, who has the best Minas and all?
Yeah,
You know,
who's the best drawn?
Usually with Mina and Lucy, they really weaken the character. I like the Lucy in this, but otherwise the Lucys all come out as really weak, and they're supposed, her whole point is that she is supposed to be so lovable.
Why do you think the name swap happens so frequently?
That they did that because of the play. When Boulderson wrote the play, he decided that people would not understand the name Mina in America, so he swapped Mina and Lucy around, and people just copied it since then.
They still use it.
Yeah. But I was going to say, if you're looking for a strong Mina, it's here. The Istanbul one. That's our Mina who actually has agency and does stuff. And the Lucy's okay. And I know we've drawn out, so we have to stop. It sucks, so. Thank you.